So on my last Sunsama video, I got this comment, and he's not wrong. I didn't explain fully, beginning to end, how to fully use Sunsama. I showed you how I use Sunsama. So today I have a brand new account, and I'm going to show you how to completely set up Sunsama start to end. So to get started, the Sunsama link down in the description box is an affiliate link, but you get an extended 30-day free trial. Normally it's only 14 days when you use that link. So if you are curious about it and you want to try it out, start there. Second, I want to talk about the pricing of Sunsama because it's not the cheapest thing, especially for students or small businesses. For me, it is well worth it. It's less than $1 a day, but you need to make that decision for yourself, so I want to be upfront with it before you get too deep into this video. The yearly subscription is billed at $16 per month, and monthly is $20. So it is just under $200 to use for 1 year. Now, like I said, this is definitely not for everyone. For most of you, one single productivity tool is probably more than enough. The benefit of Sunsama is that it integrates with a ton of other apps, things like Todoist, ClickUp, Asana, Gmail, Calendars, Monday, Notion, all of those things that you probably use for your team, your clients, or just your small business in general. And it filters everything into one app so that you only have to log into one thing each day to know what you need to do. Now, before we talk too much about features, let's create an account and I'll show you how we get started. Once you get signed up with your email, it's going to walk you through the introduction. So it's going to tell you what Sunsama is and help you customize it to fit your current needs. The first question is what task managers you use. If you don't use a lot of these yet, or you want to set it up more customized in the future, then you can just choose something like your email right now. For the time being, I'm going to skip this step and we'll connect some more things in just a few minutes. You can also add your calendar account. This is where Sunsama is going to put your tasks when you're time blocking, and it also can pull events from your calendars to turn them into tasks. So I'm just going to add my iCloud calendar for this. Once you've added your calendar accounts, then it's time to decide when you want to plan your day. Sunsama has daily rituals that will walk you through planning and closing out your day. And you can set custom times for when you want to be notified of that. I plan my day pretty early, so I'm going to set this for 6 a.m. and you can always edit this after the fact if you change your schedule. Now it's going to walk us through a sample daily planning routine, so you get a feel for what is included here. And along the top here, you can see your progress bar of what steps go into this planning routine. For now, we're going to start with planning tomorrow. We're going to add some fake tasks just so you can see what this might look like. You can use keyboard shortcuts like A to add a task. There'll also be some little tips throughout here so you can start to learn about some of the interface. For example, you can link a task or use a URL to include all of the information from an event, a calendar, email, etc. You can also set a planned time. So let's say that we think this is going to take 1 hour. We'll be able to use this later on to time block and plan out our day. You can also set objectives for your week and align different tasks with the various objectives. We'll talk more about that in a few minutes though. You'll notice that there's some little tags in the bottom right corner. These are auto-assigning these for now because we haven't set up channels for each of our tasks. So I'm going to leave those and we'll talk about that in just a moment, but this is a really cool feature. All right, so now we have some fake tasks in here. If you forgot to enter an estimated time for any of these, you can just click on that little time block and choose from the drop-down menu. You can also click here to type in directly how long you think it'll take. If you decide that something can wait till later, you can also click on the little date icon and snooze it, move it to a backlog, or pick a specific date. There's also a little icon shortcut here to edit that planned time. If you click on any given task, you'll see the actual task menu open up. This is where you can add notes, comments, and even subtasks for this item. You can also set planned time for each one of these items. When you set planned times for each of these subtasks, it'll overwrite the original planned time with a sum of the total time of your tasks. So keep that in mind if you need to adjust. Within comments, you can also attach files, such as PDFs, images, or just links to a specific area. All right, so our list is done. Let's move on to the next part. If you didn't already enter your estimated time, Sunsama will prompt you to do so. So this shows you how much time you want to spend on each of these tasks, and at the top, you'll see a total. The left side here will round up or down depending on how many tasks you have. We have 3 hours and 55 minutes of work, so it's telling us 4 hours. Here we'll be able to pull in other tools. So for example, if we wanted to connect ClickUp or Todoist or Gmail at this point, we could pull tasks in from these various channels and move them onto our task list for tomorrow. I'm going to connect Todoist just to show you an example of what these look like. So let's say I want this task on my list for tomorrow. All I have to do is click and drag it into my list. You'll see it'll auto format, but it has a new icon here, the Todoist icon, so you know this is pulled from a different channel. You can also click on this and it will open the task in Todoist so you can make notes or adjustments directly in that app if that's what you need to do. It also auto-filled my tag here and my estimated time, so if you want to edit that, you can. You can also set different defaults for these, which we'll talk about in just a few minutes. At this point, we'll be able to see if these are things that we actually need to get done on this day, or if it's things that can wait until later. For example, let's say that we don't need the project files done today, but maybe Saturday would be a better day to do that. Or let's say that our total hours for today looked like 10 hours. We might need to move some of these around to give us a more realistic workload. This is one of my favorite features of Asana because it really helps check you with how much you think you can get done in the day. It's something I'm terrible at and something that Sunsama has helped with a lot. This is also a great point if you want to quickly add a couple more tasks that you forgot about, or add something to next week that was on your mind but you just need scheduled later on. Next up is scheduling. So this is where you can time block the tasks onto your calendar. If you don't like the idea of time blocking, you don't have to do this. But one of the nice parts about this is that any calendars that are connected to your account will show up with their events here in this section, meaning that you'll be able to see how your tasks will actually fit around your calendar and your schedule. You can drag and drop these into here, or you can hover over the item that you want on your calendar and press X for it to guess where you might want it. The more you use your calendar and the more that you add tasks here, the better it's going to get at guessing where certain tasks should go and what channels should go where. This is AI, so you can train it to do better over time. Once you're happy with your schedule, you can say looks good, and now we have a chance to write out a couple of notes. We'll see our full schedule for tomorrow, along with any channels that they are related to and how long it's going to take. You'll also see this full list on the right-hand side in the order that they show up on your calendar. You can make notes of any obstacles that might get in the way, or just add your own notes here, whatever you need to help you just plan the day. You can also post these updates directly into Slack or Teams, or you can just hit get started to start the process. Personally, I like to post things into a private Slack channel for myself where I can just see a record of my notes and see what I've gotten done. Once we hit get started, we will see this Sunsama dashboard. This is going to be the typical page you'll see when you first log in. We have our week spread out across the center here and then our calendar on the right. You can customize this layout with this board icon and you can look at all of the different versions there are. For example, if you just want to see today, you can do so. If you want to see just a few days at a time or an entire month, all of your tasks will be swapped with the calendar. So now you'll see the tasks on the side and the calendar on the main board. I like the board view, so this is typically what I use. Just because Sunsama has a planning ritual doesn't mean that you can't add tasks throughout your day or in future days as you work through the calendar. For example, let's say every Monday I have a meeting with a friend. I can create this as a reoccurring task in my calendar. So I click repeat weekly on Monday every other week, and let's say that it happens roughly at 7 a.m. This is all super customizable, so anything that you really need, you can set to repeat pretty easily in here. Once I hit save, I'll be able to toggle through each of the tasks so I can add notes or do whatever I need to do for each individual task. I can also edit the task series at any time to change the time that we meet, the frequency, or if I added notes in here that I want to copy over into all of the tasks, I can update all of the future tasks with those notes. You can also delete this completely if you want to stop the reoccurring task from happening. You'll also be able to pull in additional channels. If you need to connect those at any time, you just click on one of these, and you can see your available channels here so that you can quickly drag and drop things into your week and be able to plan accordingly. With any of your connections, if you have multiple pages, boards, inboxes, whatever it is, you can click on the little drop-down menu and see all of the options. For example, I can see my Todoist inbox, or the next 7 days, or specific projects. In Notion, I can look for specific databases or pages, and in ClickUp, I can open various projects. If you click on your icon in the top right-hand corner, you can also manage your account. So if you want to, you can add multiple accounts for this one integration. This is not available on all integrations, such as Todoist, but things like Notion and Gmail, as well as the calendars, do allow for multiple additions. You'll notice that now we are in a settings page, so let me show you how to get to this menu. On the left-hand side, we have Sunsama right up top. We can click on that and go to Settings. You can also click on Integrations, and that will bring you to the same section. There are a lot of customization options in Sunsama, so I'm not going to go through every single one, but I'm going to go through the main menus so you know what to expect. First up is the time zone. Setting your time zone is the most efficient way to do this, but if you work in a different time zone, for example, I have a client where I primarily work in New York time, I might want to change this to fit that schedule better. You can also set up alerts so if you travel a lot, that you'll be notified when your time zones change so you know when your times are being shifted. You can also choose the start of your week. I like a Sunday start, but that's not for everyone. I'll show more on this in a few moments, but counting planned time as actual time is something that's really important in my workflow. I don't always want to track exact times. I want to just know roughly how long something took me. So I want to count my planned time as actual time. And again, I'll explain that in just a moment. When you don't complete a task for the day, you get to choose how it rolls over into future days. So if your task rolls over, you can choose if you want to see it at the top of the next day or the bottom. You can also choose how things are moved into the archive box. So on the right-hand column here, you'll notice that there's this backlog section. If you go to the right side here, you'll notice that there's this archive section. Tasks that have rolled over for a certain amount of days will automatically live in here. You can choose anything from 1 day all the way up to 14 days. I like to give myself 3 days or so to complete a task before it's moved in here. And when you have tasks living in here, you will see a little red notification icon just like this one to know that something new was moved into there, so you can decide if it's something that you need to do or something that can be moved to your backlog. Backlogs are things that you know need to happen at some point, but you don't want to assign it to a specific date yet. I like to use this for brain dumps just to get everything out of my mind, and then I move things into the calendar as needed. Down here is the rituals settings, so this is where you can choose the different times that you want to plan or end your day. So just like a morning ritual, there's also an end of day ritual. You can change this to any time on your time zone. For example, I like to do this after I'm done with work, which ends at 3 p.m. You can also choose if you want this to automatically happen or if it's something you want to click to happen for both the morning and evening ones. You can also choose the custom message that happens at the end of the rituals, such as just a daily encouragement. This is usually a quote or something that changes every day. No message at all, where it'll just go to the next page, or you can make a custom message if that's something you'd like to include. This is helpful for if you need to remember a certain line item that has to happen every day, such as taking medication or actually shutting off your computer. There's also a weekly ritual, which I'll show you in just a moment, but you can also choose when this happens. I like for my ritual to happen on Sunday night. It gives me the chance to plan out my week ahead before the week really begins. There's also something called the weekly review. This is what I'm going to show you that's relating to the time tracking. You can choose to combine this with your weekly ritual, or it can be something that happens separately. I like to combine the two, but you can also set a specific time if you just want to see what happens at the end of your week. If you are someone who works on Sundays and Saturdays, you may want to toggle this one as well. This will include the weekends during that ritual time. Otherwise, it will only include the weekdays. And finally, we have to choose a channel for the rituals to live. So I'm going to click on this and then choose Manage Channels so I can show you what this looks like. Channels are basically tags that collect different tasks into categories. They're called context and channels. So work and personal are two contexts that will automatically be created for you, but you can create additional ones. Let's say that this is a day job, and now we want to create one that is freelance. Within each of these two categories, we can add additional information, such as admin work, that's emails, phone calls, meetings, things like that. You can also change the color, and you can enable or disable these at any time. So if you started with one category and you decided you didn't need it anymore, you can just disable it going forward. You can also choose which channel you want to have assigned by default. So maybe for freelancing, we want to have admin automatically assigned because maybe we're going to use a few different channels to track clients. So let's say this is client number 1 and client number 2. If we go back into our calendar integration down at the bottom here, we'll also be able to assign different calendars to different channels. So let's say that this channel is specifically for my freelance clients. It's just freelance in general. Any events that are added to this calendar will automatically be tagged with the freelance context. You can also choose if you want events to automatically import as tasks or if you'd rather drag and drop them one by one. We can also choose which calendar is going to be our default for the time boxing. So when we drag our tasks onto our calendar, what calendar do we want that to show up on? Right now we have this one set, so if I go to my Gmail calendar with this one, you would see the same thing in Sunsama. Here's our Google Calendar, and here are all the tasks that we added for Sunsama. If we open this up, they are just events, just like normal, and you can edit them and move them just as you would any other event. Let's say that I move this one all the way to the morning. Let's switch back to Sunsama and see what that looks like. Now when I click on Friday and view my calendar, I can see that it's been moved up. All of this is a two-way sync, which makes it very easy to plan your day and edit in whatever task management tool you're using at that moment. This syncing process is one of the reasons I love Sunsama because it makes it really easy to work in whatever app you're in and not worry about having to always add and update different items. The last setting I'm going to show you is schedules. So when you hover over that task and you click X, when you are planning your day and tasks are automatically added to your calendar, this is where you can customize some of those options. So for example, let's say anything tagged with my day job, I only want added to my calendar from 9 to 11. And maybe I don't work the job for a couple of days a week. Maybe my freelancer schedule is completely different. All of this is completely customizable, so it's helping Sunsama learn your routine and help you better plan your day. All right, so let's talk about the remaining areas of Sunsama on the dashboard here. I'm going to go ahead and check off some of these tasks so you'll be able to see what some of these look like. Let's assign some of these to different freelance clients, and let's start checking all of these off. First off, when you check them off on the day that they are not assigned, it's going to move it onto the day that you checked it off. That way you know when the task was actually completed and not just when you had planned it. Let's move an unfinished task onto today, and I'm going to switch over to focus mode. What this does is pick the next task in your list in the order that it's showing, and it turns on this mode where you can work and focus on just the one task. You can hover over the right side here to see your calendar to see what tasks or events may be coming up, and you'll also get notifications if there's a calendar event coming up that you need to be aware of. It'll notify you when it's time to switch tasks. You can add comments and attachments just like normal. You can add notes and subtasks, and the best part is the timer. So if you work with freelance clients or you need to track your time, you can do so here. You can also switch to a different timer method using a Pomodoro. You can increase the session time or the break times, and this will work you through regular Pomodoro method. You can also self-inflict the break and cancel the timer overall. Either way, this will all add to your session time. So if I hit cancel and go back to my focus mode, you'll see that it's still counting up my time here so that I know how much time I actually spent on these projects. So I am at 10 minutes and 1 second. Let's go ahead and mark this as completed without stopping my timer. It's going to stop it automatically for me. And that was my last task, meaning it's telling me I'm done for my day. I can move out of focus mode here into my home screen and see all of my tasks were completed. Now let's do the daily shutdown ritual. The daily shutdown is going to show you a today in review with a breakdown of each of your channels and contexts on the left side. And then you'll be able to see the full list of completed tasks along with the time that you spent. This shows that you had 8.5 hours planned and you got done in 8 hours, which is always helpful for knowing how long you had initially expected tasks to take. Just like the morning ritual, this gives you the chance to add some notes. They have some different suggestions for what you can add here, such as answering some questions, listing links to any work that you did outside of this, or sharing the team write-up in Slack. You can also click on any one of these tasks that open up the notes from the day so that if you need to review these in order to type up some notes into your team message, then you can do so. I'm going to hit wrap up. It's going to give us a nice little message along with a quote. And again, you can click on this and change the encouragement to be whatever you would like it to be. Now let's go into the weekly planning and the weekly review session so you can see what that's going to look like. We're going to start with the objectives. These are objectives that you set for each week. So we can see that none were set for this week because we didn't have an account yet, but it gives us a chance to set some for next week. So let's say we want to complete a project and it's relating to client 1. We can also set a start date. So let's say it's starting on the 9th. And then we want to dedicate a few hours every day to this project to make sure it's done on time. We can also extend this between future weeks. So if this is going to be a multiple week project, you can adjust to be whatever you need. The weekly plan also has a document where you can add notes. You can make a note of what you are working on. It shows you what's planned for the week and what objectives were finished last week, which again was blank because we just started this. Now, normally at the beginning, it would show a weekly review page, which looks something like this, but because we just started, it's not going to show everything. This weekly review page is actually how I currently bill my clients within Sunsama's app. This is actually how I track time for my clients and bill them using Sunsama. So I can see that I've logged 7 hours this week in total, and total is underlined. So if I click on this, I can choose what context I want to see the breakdown from. For example, day job. How long did I spend on this? I can see I spent 1.5 hours, or if I want a more accurate breakdown, I can see it was exactly an hour 30. I can see my freelance clients, and I can see the breakdown by each client. I have it right here. I can see that I worked 3 hours for client number 2, 1 hour for client number 1, and 1 hour on admin duties. And again, I'll be able to see the breakdown throughout the whole week, so I know how much time and what tasks I did for each client. The weekly review will tell me what was finished this week, and again, I can add the notes and post it into Slack or Teams, or just save it for myself. There are a ton of other things that Sunsama can do. They have really cool analytic breakdowns by each week, if that's something you're interested in. Obviously, we don't have a ton of data here. They have a lot of settings that you can play with and a ton of integrations. They integrate now with Zapier, so pretty much anything you want to connect it to, you can. And it seems like every few weeks they are releasing some kind of new feature or new connection, so it's definitely worth checking out. One of the funny things about Sunsama is that my favorite piece about it is the emails and the blog. The creator puts out fantastic content about productivity and time management, just managing your schedule better. So even if you don't end up using Sunsama, I highly recommend you checking out their content because it is really good. So if I haven't convinced you yet to try out Sunsama, then that's okay. There's a ton of other apps on the market that do very similar things and are really cool. Sunsama is just one of my favorites and one that I've been using for years. Been really happy with their service so far, and it's one that I recommend to a lot of different people. Thank you for watching, and if you're curious, you can check out some of these videos that you may also enjoy.